All right, let's dive right in. We're about to unpack something that is genuinely changing the world: how we learn languages. Today, we're going to break down how artificial intelligence is tearing up the old playbook for learning English and writing a completely new one. I mean, who hasn't, right? You remember it, the endless vocabulary lists, the tricky grammar rules, and that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you have to actually speak to someone and you're terrified of messing it up. It's a tough road. But what if that whole experience is on the verge of a massive upgrade? Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of this shift. For decades, language learning has been stuck in this old school one-size-fits-all model. Everyone in the class moves at the same speed. But the AI way, it's the exact opposite. It's a path that's built just for you. It gives you feedback the second you need it, and this is huge. It lets you practice over and over again without ever feeling embarrassed. So you have to ask, why is all this happening right now? Well, it really comes down to one word: demand. English is, for better or worse, the default language of global business, of the internet, of travel. And because of that, the number of people who need to learn it is just exploding all over the world. And this is where AI comes into the picture. It's the piece of the puzzle that's finally making it possible to give a personalized one-on-one style education to millions of people at once. It takes those boring, static lessons and transforms them into something alive, something that actually adapts to how you learn. So what does this actually look like? I mean, what are the tools? Because this isn't some far-off futuristic idea. This stuff is here right now. Let's take a look at what your own personal AI tutor can actually do for you today. First things first, you've got to build a foundation, right? We're talking grammar and vocabulary. And this is an area where AI tools are just fantastic at taking what used to be really monotonous, boring drills and making them, well, actually engaging. So take a tool you've probably heard of, Duolingo. Its AI-powered Big Brother, Duolingo Max, really cranks things up a notch. It makes learning vocabulary feel more like a game than a chore, and it uses speech recognition to give you instant pointers on your pronunciation. It's basically like having a coach for the fundamentals living right there in your pocket. Okay, so you've got the words down. What's next? The next mountain to climb is sounding, well, natural. It's one thing to know the vocabulary, but it's a whole other ballgame to get the accent and the rhythm right. And this is where some of the more specialized AI just blows my mind. Check out a tool like Elsa Speak. Think of it as your personal dialect coach. It literally listens to you, analyzes your speech, and compares it to how native speakers sound. It'll break down your intonation, your rhythm, individual vowel sounds, and give you super specific feedback. That's the kind of detailed correction that is almost impossible to get, even from a human teacher in a small class. And that brings us to the final frontier, the part that scares everybody the most: having a real conversation. This is where that fear of making a mistake can just completely freeze you up. And that's exactly what conversational AI like Practica is designed to solve. It puts you in simulated situations. You could be ordering a coffee, you could be in a job interview, and the AI doesn't just respond to your words, it responds to your tone. It gives you a place to practice that feels real, but without any of the pressure. It's a total game changer. Okay, so the technology is clearly amazing. But what's the actual impact on students? What are people saying? Well, as you can probably guess, it's not a simple story. It's a mix of incredible breakthroughs and some really valid concerns. Let's start with the wins, because they are big. Listen to this from a user of Practica. For so many people, the AI just evaporates that anxiety. It's real enough to be useful practice, but it's also a safe space where you know you can't really fail. And here's another person saying basically the same thing. The key phrases there are practice daily and feel confident. That's the magic combo. The AI creates this judgment-free zone that encourages you to put in the reps day after day. And that's how you build real skill. And, just as important, the confidence to actually use it. But, of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. There is a flip side to all of this. Because when you start talking to educators, the people on the front lines, a much more complicated picture starts to emerge about what happens when we lean too heavily on the machine. And this quote from a teaching assistant just nails the core of the problem. When AI becomes a crutch instead of a tool, students can become, well, passive. They might get the right answer, they might finish the homework, but they're not actually wrestling with the material in a way that builds deep, lasting knowledge. And this isn't just about one or two students falling behind. We're now at a point where researchers and educators are starting to look at the bigger, system-wide risks, the unintended consequences of weaving AI so deeply into how we learn. Researchers at MIT actually have a pretty scary name for one of these risks. They call it brain rot, and it describes what happens when we start offloading our thinking to AI. Our brains are wired to save energy, so if a tool can do the hard work for us, we'll let it. But the danger is that over time, the mental muscles we use for critical thinking and problem solving can start to get weak from lack of use. We're literally not thinking as hard. And that leads us to this fascinating dilemma that teachers are facing. According to a 2025 EdWeek report, a solid majority of them, 59%, they see the good stuff. They see the real gains from personalized learning. But at the exact same time, that same majority has huge concerns about things like bias baked into the AI or what's happening with all that student data. So where do we go from here? Is this some kind of battle, humans versus the machine? No, not at all, actually. The consensus seems to be that the future is all about partnership. It's about finding a smart balance. The model that's really starting to take shape is a hybrid one. Let the AI do what it's great at. The endless drills, the instant grammar corrections, the tireless conversation practice. And that frees up the human teachers to focus on the things that only humans can do. Inspiring students, providing deep context, and teaching all those subtle cultural nuances that an AI just isn't going to get. And this all boils down to a quote that you hear a lot in education circles these days, and it is so on point. It sees AI not as a threat, but as a must-have tool for any modern teacher. The future isn't about being replaced, it's about being enhanced. So in the end, we're left with this huge, fascinating question. Is this incredible technology the key that will finally unlock a truly global language for everyone? Or is it a dangerous shortcut that could lead to us not really learning at all? The truth is, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, and finding that perfect balance is a challenge we're all going to have to figure out together.